Mercedes-Benz has just detonated a bomb under the luxury car market, and the aftershocks are already rattling every automaker on Earth. For over a century, the three-pointed star has stood for prestige, perfection, and a price tag that said, "You've made it." But overnight, that image cracked. Mercedes, the brand that built its empire on exclusivity, has just done the unthinkable. It's slashed prices across several of its top-selling models, and no one saw it coming. This isn't a small seasonal sale or a limited-time rebate. It's a calculated global price war, one that challenges the very idea of what luxury means. In showrooms from Los Angeles to London, from Berlin to Beijing, dealers are being told to move inventory fast. That command alone tells us something extraordinary is happening behind the curtain. Wall Street analysts are stunned. Auto insiders are whispering that Mercedes has crossed a line that can never be uncrossed. And consumers, the people who once could only dream of a Mercedes, are suddenly finding themselves staring at prices that make those dreams possible. But the question everyone's asking is why? Why would a brand that never plays the discount game suddenly risk its identity? Is Mercedes quietly collapsing under economic pressure, or cleverly reinventing itself before it's too late? This is more than a story about car prices. It's about survival, pride, and the end of an era in luxury. Because when a brand that once defined class decides to compete on cost, it signals something deeper, a power shift in the global auto industry. In today's video, we uncover the hidden forces driving this shocking move, the internal battles, the economic cracks, and the global consequences no one's talking about. It all starts with a simple but haunting truth. Even the most prestigious brands can bleed. Real quick, if you're into videos that cut through the noise and break things down clearly, go ahead and hit that like button. It helps more people find this. And if you're not subscribed yet, now's a good time. We've got more deep dives coming your way. Also, drop a comment and let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your take. Now onto the video. For decades, Mercedes-Benz didn't follow the market. It was the market. It set prices, others adjusted. It dictated trends, others followed. But the world has changed. And now the unshakable giant is bending under the weight of forces it can no longer control. The first and most obvious pressure point is economics. Inflation has quietly eroded the spending power of even affluent buyers. Interest rates have soared, making luxury financing painfully expensive. The cost of living, from housing to groceries, has forced consumers to reconsider big-ticket purchases. Suddenly, that sleek new E-Class feels less like a status symbol and more like a burden. At the same time, the once untouchable luxury market has grown dangerously crowded. Tesla disrupted the landscape by offering tech-driven performance at aggressive prices. Chinese manufacturers like BYD and NIO have followed suit, combining futuristic design with affordability that European brands can't easily match. Mercedes watched as these challenges chipped away at the very audience it once monopolized, younger, aspirational buyers seeking innovation over image. Then came the perfect storm inside the company itself. Massive inventory buildup, pandemic-era supply chain chaos led to miscalculations. Plants overproduced vehicles just as global demand started cooling. Showrooms filled up, storage lots overflowed, the cost of holding unsold inventory mounted, each idle car representing millions in trapped capital. For a brand like Mercedes, that's a crisis of identity. For decades, scarcity was part of the allure. Exclusive meant limited availability. Now exclusivity has turned into excess. Faced with the prospect of stagnant sales and rising costs, Mercedes had two options: wait for the storm to pass or pull the emergency brake. And that's what this price cut is. Not a marketing gimmick, but an act of survival. A silent admission that prestige alone no longer pays the bills. Behind the glossy ads and glowing badges lies a deeper truth. The luxury bubble is deflating, and Mercedes just became the first to acknowledge it. But here's where the story deepens. Because this wasn't merely a financial decision. Behind closed doors in Stuttgart, something bigger was brewing. A strategic shift that could redefine the future of luxury itself. And that's exactly what we'll uncover next. When Mercedes announced its sweeping price cuts, the news didn't just rattle car buyers. It sent shockwaves through global financial markets. Within hours, Mercedes' stock took a hit. Investors weren't celebrating discounts. They were terrified, because in the luxury world, lowering prices isn't seen as a clever strategy, it's a cry for help. Analysts began calling it the luxury price collapse. The logic was brutal. Once a prestige brand starts cutting prices, it's almost impossible to go back. The moment exclusivity becomes accessible, the illusion of scarcity, and with it, desirability begins to fade. That's why Wall Street's reaction wasn't joy, it was alarm. If Mercedes, the gold standard of automotive luxury, is discounting, what does that say about everyone else? BMW investors braced for impact. Audi and Lexus dealers quietly reviewed their pricing models. Even Tesla's shareholders started sweating, fearing that another global price war was about to erupt, one that could slice profit margins across the entire EV sector. In boardrooms from Tokyo to Detroit, executives realized something fundamental had shifted. Mercedes had broken the unspoken rule of luxury: never show desperation, never make it look like you need customers. They should be the ones needing you. But now, with interest rates climbing and consumer confidence crumbling, even the wealthiest buyers are hesitating. Luxury demand, once fueled by emotion and status, is suddenly constrained by spreadsheets and mortgage rates. For decades, Mercedes' three-pointed star was a symbol of stability. Now, it's a barometer of uncertainty. And as investors watch the brand bend its own principles, the bigger fear emerges: if the luxury sector is cracking, could it be the first warning sign of a much deeper economic slowdown? Because when the richest customers stop spending, history shows it's rarely just about cars, it's about confidence itself. And while Wall Street analysts are reading the numbers, the real story is unfolding on the showroom floor, where something unprecedented is happening. Consumers are seizing power. For years, luxury car buyers had to play by the automakers' rules. They waited months for deliveries, paid premiums, and were told no discounts. But now the script has flipped, and Mercedes just handed the audience control of the narrative. Walk into a Mercedes dealership today, and the atmosphere feels different. The glass and chrome temples of exclusivity now have red banners, screaming limited time offers. Sales managers who once sold dreams are now pushing deals. Some even admit privately, "We're selling discounts, not status." For consumers, it's a surreal shift. Models that once felt out of reach, the C-Class, E-Class, or even the electric EQ line, are now sitting on lots with cash rebates, low-interest financing, and trade-in bonuses. It's not just affordability, it's leverage. Buyers who were once told, "Take it or leave it," are suddenly negotiating from a position of power. But here's where it gets tricky. Timing. Analysts are split. Some say this is the perfect moment to buy, before inventories shrink and prices climb again. Others warn that deeper discounts could be coming as Mercedes clears out older models to make room for the new EVs. Waiting might mean saving thousands more. Behind the excitement, there's an undercurrent of tension. Dealers feel the pressure. Each unsold car represents capital trapped in metal and glass. Corporate targets are tightening, and the once unthinkable idea, a clearance sale at Mercedes-Benz, is becoming reality. For the average consumer, this is a golden moment, but for Mercedes, it's a double-edged sword. Every discounted sale boosts short-term numbers, but chips away at long-term prestige. The more customers expect deals, the harder it becomes to charge full price again. And while buyers are celebrating, Mercedes leadership is worried, because this isn't just a marketing adjustment, it's a structural shift. The kind of change that doesn't fade when the banners come down. But to understand how deep this transformation goes, we need to look at where Mercedes is betting its future, the electric revolution that was supposed to save it, but is now threatening to break it. Mercedes poured billions into its electric dream, the EQ lineup. On paper, it was a masterpiece. Sleek design, advanced batteries, and the prestige of German engineering. But in practice, the dream hasn't lived up to the hype. Sales have been underwhelming. Consumers complain about disappointing range, slower software updates, and high sticker prices that make Tesla's offerings look like bargains. Even loyal Mercedes customers hesitate, unsure whether to trust the brand's sudden pivot from combustion to kilowatts. Meanwhile, Chinese brands like BYD, NIO, and XPeng are flooding the global market with EVs that are smarter, cheaper, and faster to evolve. They're not chasing prestige, they're chasing progress, and that difference is cutting deep into Mercedes' long-held advantage. Behind the scenes, the situation is urgent. The luxury EV segment isn't growing fast enough to justify the investments. Governments are pulling back subsidies, battery costs remain volatile, and to make matters worse, the global economic slowdown is squeezing consumer spending at the exact moment automakers need it. So Mercedes leadership made a drastic call: slash prices now, grab market share, and hope to outlast the chaos. It's a high-stakes gamble meant to spark demand, reset expectations, and remind buyers that Mercedes is still relevant in the electric era. But the irony is painful. Every discount offered on an electric model erodes profitability and undermines the very innovation Mercedes depends on to survive. The EQS, once positioned as a symbol of futuristic luxury, is now being marketed with financing perks that scream urgency, not confidence. And inside the company, tensions are rising. Engineers who built the EQ program on the promise of technological supremacy now see their creations turned into clearance items. Executives insist it's a strategic pivot, not a surrender. But when profits fall faster than expectations rise, even the most polished press releases can't mask the truth. The EV war is no longer about who builds the best car. It's about who can survive long enough to keep building it all. And Mercedes knows that the real battle isn't just under the hood. It's for the soul of the brand itself. Mercedes-Benz has always been more than a car maker. It's been an identity. For over a century, owning a Mercedes wasn't about transportation. It was about belonging to a world of excellence. But that identity is cracking under pressure, and the brand that once defined luxury is now struggling to define itself. Step into a showroom today, and the change is immediate. The aura of exclusivity has been replaced by the buzz of urgency. Once immaculate showrooms now flaunt banners that read limited time offers or special financing available. It feels less like entering a luxury boutique and more like walking into a mid-tier dealership during clearance season. And customers notice. Long-time Mercedes owners, those who once prided themselves on paying top dollar for prestige, are now quietly asking if the brand has lost its touch. If everyone can afford a Mercedes, one loyal customer said, then what does owning one even mean anymore? This isn't just perception, it's psychology. Luxury thrives on aspiration, on the idea that not everyone can have it. So the moment exclusivity is compromised, the brand's emotional power weakens. By chasing sales, Mercedes risks cheapening the very image that made it untouchable. Dealers are feeling it too, who used to sell dreams. One manager admitted, "Now we're selling discounts." That single line captures the dilemma haunting Mercedes at every level. The brand built its empire on the promise of the best or nothing. But when buyers start negotiating down prices, that promise begins to sound hollow. Inside Mercedes headquarters, executives are divided. Some argue the price cuts are temporary, a calculated reset to realign with global demand. Others fear the damage is permanent. Because prestige, once lost, is almost impossible to rebuild. And as the brand fights to balance identity with survival, its competitors are circling, because when a king stumbles, every rival smells opportunity. Mercedes' decision didn't just shake the luxury world, it reshaped the entire auto industry overnight. Like a domino falling in slow motion, every brand from Tokyo to Detroit is now recalculating its next move. In Germany, BMW executives are scrambling to protect their margins without appearing weak. Rumors suggest they're preparing aggressive leasing programs to offset falling demand. Audi, meanwhile, is pushing for faster EV releases, desperate to avoid being seen as slow or complacent. And Lexus, long positioned as the value luxury brand, is suddenly in the perfect spot. Their mix of reliability, hybrid efficiency, and approachable pricing now looks genius in hindsight. But the ripple doesn't stop there. Across the Pacific, American and Asian manufacturers are panicking. Brands like Ford, Toyota, and Hyundai's Genesis division benchmark their top trims against Mercedes pricing. Now with Mercedes lowering the bar, their so-called premium models suddenly look overpriced. Economists call this the luxury compression effect. When the top tier drops, the middle follows. It's not just about cars, it's about consumer psychology. If a Mercedes-Benz is suddenly within reach, why would anyone pay more for a mid-tier model from another brand? This pricing shock threatens to trigger a cascading series of markdowns across the entire market. Dealerships are already seeing customers holding off purchases, expecting others to follow Mercedes' lead. The result? A slow freeze in consumer spending that could choke profits industry-wide. And it's not just the automakers feeling the pain. Suppliers, tech firms, and battery producers tied to these luxury brands are watching their forecasts crumble. Even investors in unrelated sectors, like fashion and real estate, are drawing parallels. Because when the symbol of automotive prestige cuts prices, it shakes faith in the entire luxury ecosystem. In China, the fallout looks even more brutal. Once Mercedes' most profitable market, it's now dominated by confident domestic EV giants like BYD and Geely, who are openly celebrating the German giant's stumble. They know perception is everything, and right now, confidence sells better than history. What began as a Mercedes decision has morphed into a global reset. And now the question haunting every boardroom is the same. If Mercedes can fall, who's next? But while competitors react, inside Mercedes, the battle lines are being drawn. Because not everyone agrees on what the brand should become next. Behind the polished press releases and confident soundbites, Mercedes is a company at war with itself. Engineers, designers, and executives are quietly divided, not over products, but over philosophy. What should Mercedes become in a world where luxury no longer sells itself? On one side, the traditionalists, they believe Mercedes must protect its heritage at all costs, its craftsmanship, prestige, and timeless appeal. They see the price cuts as a betrayal and an erosion of everything the brand stands for. In their eyes, the slogan, "the best or nothing," can't coexist with discounts and rebates. On the other side, the reformists, younger executives and strategists who believe survival means adaptation. They argue that the definition of luxury has changed. It's no longer about exclusivity, about experience, innovation, and relevance. To them, Mercedes isn't destroying its legacy. It's rewriting it before the market does it for them. And at the center of it all sits a board of directors walking a tightrope over a storm, because both sides are right, and both sides are right, and both sides are wrong. The old guard understands the danger of dilution. The new guard understands the danger of stagnation. Inside sources describe internal meetings filled with tension, projections on falling margins, debates over future models, clashes between profitability and prestige. The mood isn't panic, but urgency. Everyone knows this gamble could either cement Mercedes as the visionary leader of a new era or mark the beginning of its slow decline. To make matters worse, dealerships are caught in the crossfire. Some embrace the change, welcoming new customers and record foot traffic. Others resent it, claiming that the brand's magic is fading as showrooms start resembling mainstream outlets. The brand's future direction now hinges on one question: can Mercedes reinvent luxury without destroying it? Can it stay aspirational while becoming accessible? Because if it can't, the world might soon witness something unthinkable: the fall of a legend that once defined greatness itself. And the next chapter of this story will determine whether this gamble turns Mercedes into the comeback king or a cautionary tale of how not to survive change. Mercedes-Benz has lit the fuse of the most dangerous experiment in modern automotive history, and now the world is waiting to see how far the flames spread. Behind the polished smiles and carefully worded statements, this is a company betting everything on one risky belief that short-term sacrifice will lead to long-term dominance. The idea is simple: slash prices now, capture market share, and re-establish Mercedes as the defining name in the EV era. But the execution? It's a minefield. Every discount chips away at margins that once funded Mercedes' greatest strength. Innovation, the safety systems, performance engines and design breakthroughs that made the brand legendary were built on fat profits. If those profits dry up, the innovation pipeline dries up too. And that's not just Mercedes' problem. It's an industry problem. When the pace of innovation slows, progress across the entire automotive world stalls. Analysts are divided. Some call it a masterstroke, claiming Mercedes is using temporary discounts as a Trojan horse, pulling in new buyers, introducing them to its EV lineup, and setting the stage for brand loyalty in the next generation. Others see it as corporate desperation, a red flag that even the strongest brand is running out of safe options. The comparison to Apple keeps surfacing. Imagine if Apple suddenly cut iPhone prices in half to maintain market share. What message would that send? Mercedes is now living that reality, and the message is being read in every boardroom across every luxury sector. Meanwhile, global competitors are adapting fast. BMW is rumored to be offering unprecedented leasing terms. Audi is accelerating EV production schedules. Lexus is positioning itself as the stable middle ground between chaos and credibility. Even Chinese automakers are celebrating, portraying themselves as confident disruptors while Mercedes looks reactive. This gamble could go either way. If Mercedes pulls it off, they'll redefine luxury for a new generation, blending accessibility with excellence. But if they fail, this could mark the moment when the brand's century-long prestige unravels for good. And whether they rise or fall, one thing is already certain: the rules of luxury have changed forever. Mercedes-Benz didn't just cut prices, it cut tradition. It shattered the unspoken rule that luxury is immune to the struggles of the masses. And in doing so, it exposed a truth the entire industry has been trying to ignore. Prestige is fragile. For over a century, Mercedes defined what it meant to arrive. Its vehicles weren't just cars, they were statements. But today, the brand that once symbolized stability is fighting for survival in a market defined by chaos, competition, and collapsing margins. The effects are already rippling outward. Competitors are scrambling, investors are nervous, and consumers are watching closely, realizing that even the world's strongest names can bend under pressure. The once clear line between luxury and mass market is blurring fast. Cars that were once unreachable now compete on monthly payments and discounts. The dream is being democratized. And with that democratization comes a loss of mystique. Still, there's another way to see this moment. Maybe Mercedes isn't falling. Maybe it's evolving. Maybe this is what adaptation looks like in a world that no longer worships status the way it once did. In an age where innovation, sustainability, and accessibility matter more than badges, Mercedes could be writing the first chapter of a new kind of luxury, one built on relevance, not rarity. But make no mistake, the stakes couldn't be higher. If Mercedes succeeds, it will emerge as a pioneer reborn, proof that even icons can evolve. If it fails, it will become the cautionary tale of how arrogance and hesitation destroyed a dynasty. Either way, the world is watching. Because when a legend as mighty as Mercedes-Benz decides to break its own rules, it doesn't just change a company, it changes the meaning of luxury itself. Once again, thanks for watching this video. If you got something out of this, hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next one. And hey, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Agree, disagree, or something in between. I'd love to hear it.